Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so my name is Kolapo Bolade.
All right.
Yeah, and I'm taking you through this course or this class on firefighting equipment maintenance. So let me just do a quick check on the participants. We've got 4 people, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, we do.
Oh, so I think we should wait for others, right?
Well, yes, we can wait a while, just a very short time, or you can start by maybe introductions.
Okay, so my name is Kolakbo. I do health, safety, environment, and very recently sustainability, which is just being able to, survive today without impeding the chances of the future generation, the generation unborn, without impeding their future or their ability to actually survive. Okay. So today is actually going to be around fire equipment maintenance, and fire equipment is actually key because as facility managers, one thing that can cause a whole hell of disruption to what we do is what we call fire. So fire is a threat to any facility and every facility. So what we would then try to do is to say, okay, what can actually lead to fire? What are those things we can put in place to prevent fire occurrence? Or in the case where the fire occurs, what can we do, to mitigate the impact? So should I use the word minimize? Yeah. So we mitigate, we draw it down. So today we're going to be looking at what fire safety itself is all about. So if I say this building is safe, or if we give a fire pass on a building and say, oh, this building is safe, what does that mean to us? If you're in the last class where we're talking about health and safety, we're looking at broadly 4 things.
Volume is gone.
Loss to organizational reputation, which also is around, okay, if we do this, if there is fire, can your company even continue? So what about business continuity? Can you guys even continue to be in business, or will you go out of business if there is a fire, incident or scenario, in your organization? So that reputation part is actually key, and also the assets management part. So if the facility caught burnt, so imagine the company doesn't have very strong financial base for them to re-kick or re-kick, or imagine there is maybe the insurance is not sufficient to actually recoup what you're doing. So if there is fire incident, you can suddenly be out of business. You can suddenly the company can actually come to a close. So as facility manager, what can you do, or what are you doing around fire safety management? How do you prevent fire from occurring? How do you guarantee that even if fire should occur in your organization in a quick time, a very short time, you can actually recover, it could be put out. So today we're going to be looking at fire extinguishers for bigger facilities. We might be looking at maybe talk around sprinkler system and maybe the fire hydrants. What do you need to do to ensure that they are functioning optimally? Do you have your maintenance schedule around this? Is your maintenance schedule, is it Is it preventive? I don't want to use the word predictive at this stage because we don't really practice predictive maintenance in fire safety, which should have been the best. But I would say your maintenance culture, is it preventive enough in nature? Meaning that, do you carry out your servicing? Do you carry out your maintenance as at when due? And of course, when there is a breakdown, do you even have the right skill sets in your team, or do you outsource? If you outsource the contractor, is it sole source? Is the contractor based on expertise or based on cost? So we're going to look at some things around fire safety. Then you can then make that decision. So I'm not going to make a decision for you on who to engage or who not to engage, but I will tell you on what you need to do and how you need to do what you need to do. So this afternoon, you are in a class where I hope we won't go too theoretical. I hope we'll be able to speak to ourselves and able to understand what we're saying. For comfort, my name is Kola Pobolade. I'm a registered engineer, mechanical, and right now I work as sustainability and climate change manager for one of the biggest big fours in Nigeria. So it's just about work. We are all learning, so we're still learning. Health and safety, yes, I've done health and safety since 2009. Yes, at Wando. So that means I should be celebrating my 12th year right now. Working in health and safety. So I left the university 2008, so we're 13 years ago. Okay, so pretty much I've got, of course, what I can now regard as the normal qualification. Well, I've got a NEBOSH, but importantly, I made a distinction in NEBOSH fire in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, in 2014 I made a NEBOSH. I'm a member of the Institute of Fire Safety Managers in the UK, and I also belong to the Institution of Fire Engineers, also in the UK. And I belong to a lot of bodies, so you can just check my profile on LinkedIn. So I belong to a lot, up to 8 now. But that is not what we've come to do here. What I've come to do here is to transfer knowledge, is to make you understand that as an FM, you've got a role to play. I'm a certified grade member of IWFM, that's sort of workplace and fire and facility management in the UK. So I think you're in a safe hand. I'm sorry, I've been very busy since morning. So I came into the class, maybe is it 2 minutes late or there, but I'm sorry, that's not my signature. But maybe because of the long holiday today has just been crazy from meetings to meetings. So what do I need to tell you again? So just relax. Let me check the time now. 4:13. Okay. Hello. Am I still in class? Yes. Okay. So we have 13 people. So let's wait for 2 more minutes. So by 4:15, we should start. But randomly, can 2 or 3 people tell me what they expect to take out of this class? Can 2 or 3 more people? So 2 or 3 people just tell me what's at the end of today. What do you want to? I've got my time. I won't be able to go around the table. So you can unmute yourself, or Rebecca can unmute you. So what do you want to learn? What do you want to see at the end of this class? 2 people, please. Hello, am I in class?
Hello.
Yes, you are. You are in class, sir.
So 2 people,
Please go ahead, sir.
Just unmute themselves and tell us what they expect.
Okay. At the end of my name is Theodora Okafor.
Oh, my big madam from is it SON? Or, am I correct?
I'm from SON.
Yeah, I can remember when you were in class last time. Okay. So tell me.
So at the end of this, I want to be able to look, because I work for the standards body, I want to be able to see where I should run short in my fire fighting setup. to be able to update it and see what is new in the fire fighting area that I need to update my facility with. That's what I want to take out from here.
Okay, you want to update your facility or you want to update the standard? Which one?
No, I want to be able to update, no, not to update the standard, to be able to critique what I have on ground from what I will get from today.
Okay. Okay. Not a problem. You're going to get that. If that's what you get it full time.
Okay.
You get that full time.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Another person, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, sir.
Yeah, my name is Olayemi Kasali.
I'm here with you, please.
So at the end of this class, I want to be able to see, to know how to proactively prevent fire outbreaks, and then to identify potential causes of fire. And in case of major fire incidents, what are the things that needed to be done? I've witnessed some buildings that were so-called fire protected, but went down in flames. What could have gone wrong, and then how could those, in case the event is already occurring, what are the things that are likely to be done? And then the best kind of protection in terms of fire protective equipment, especially fire panels. I'm having problem with one of the installations in my building, and I want to be advised how to go about resolving those little problem with the fire protective devices. So that's my expectation, sir.
Okay, so hopefully the expectation will be largely met in this class. So I'm going to be looking at causes of fire, classes of fire, sources of fire, selection of fire by hazard source, and also by let me change my location. My background is noisy. Apologize, I've got some people working in my facility. so sorry about that. Okay, so I was saying that largely we're going to look at many things in line with the aim of this class. So please, so what is fire equipment? That's what we start with. I think we need to start. This is 418. Okay, so firefighting equipment basically is any equipment that we're going to use to fight fire, to act when there is fire outbreak. So think about it. Anything you use when there is an outbreak is a fire equipment. I'm not talking of soap and water that we put in bucket and and dispense on the fire. So things like fire extinguisher, sprinkler system, the fire hydrant, the fire truck. Those are actually things we'll be looking at. But a very quick one. There must be what we call the fire safety arrangements in every organization. By fire safety arrangements, I mean, we should not just depend or rely on the fire extinguishers. Because of a truth, this firefighting equipment only try to minimize or mitigate the impact. In most cases, they don't prevent the fire from happening. What I mean is the fire will start. So what this equipment does is to ensure that the fire does not grow and does not spread. So if you have your pen, you can write down. It's what we call fire prevention. Fire prevention by education. So there's what we call fire prevention. And that is one of the things we're going to achieve in this class. Meaning that we let you understand that, oh, there are 3 side elements that must come together in different proportion or percentages before we can have a fire incident. So there is fire prevention. There's what we call fire protection. Fire protection is most times based on the way we have what we call the MOC, the material of construction, the way we have designed that building, and the material we have used to build those structures, or that office, or that space, or what have you. So are they combustible material? Are they materials that can actually catch fire on time? There are some times that we do renovation. Do we renovate with materials that can actually hasten the spread or the quick spread of fire incident or fire outbreak? I don't know if any one of us heard about Greenfield. So you can type that. Okay, I'm on my laptop, unfortunately. I'm not okay. Can you type Greenfield Tower? GRENFELL. Then Tower is spelled, or is, I don't know if Tower is the right pronunciation, but I'm from Ibadan, so just accept the pronunciation Tower. So I don't know if people will say tower. Is it tower? No, they won't even sound. I had someone one day, I'm like, please don't confuse my confusion. Just let me just pronounce it the way. So the Greenfield Tower, you get. Okay, so tower is spelled TOWER. Okay, so I'm on Wikipedia right now. Let me just give you these statistics. It was part of an estate. It's a block of flats and what have you. They changed the facade. So they changed the outer, should I use the word aesthetics or beautification? So they actually installed some materials around the structure itself. And that day, on the 14th of June, 2017, yesterday, 4 years ago, 14th of June, 2017, a fire broke out in the 24-story Greenfield Tower block of flats in North Kensington, West London, at about 00:54 British Standard Time. So that's about 6 minutes to 1. So now 1 hour time difference. So to be like 6 minutes to 12 Nigerian time, and it caused 72 deaths, including 2 victims who later died in the hospital. More than 7 people were killed, and 223 people escaped. It was the deadliest structural fire in the United Kingdom since the 1988 Papa Alpha disaster that happened, of course, offshore, offshore so that occurred. Piper Alpha in 1988 occurred offshore. So I'm trying to remember I'm trying to remember the drill, but that cannot come off. So Green Star, yeah, North Sea. I want to remember North Sea. Yeah, so in the North Sea, yeah, so northeast of Aberdeen in Scotland. So Grenfell disaster that killed 72 people affected that structure, not because they did not emphasize fire safety. In fact, we were told after that it was even a fridge on the fourth floor or something that started that fire. So we've got fridge or freezer in some of our facilities. If it's residential, of course, this facility is actually a residential facility, and people died. Of course, let me shock you. The fire safety guy, the fire safety expert that passed that gave a pass for the renovation of that building and the use of that material or that facility material was later discovered to be, bearing fake titles, or better still, or better put, it was later discovered to not have those qualifications he claimed to have. That's in the UK. This is not Nigeria. Somebody saying he has an MSc in so course, whereas he never went to school to study that course at all. Somebody saying he's registered with Institute of Fire Engineers and he was never registered there. Someone that said he has Nebosh fire and never had any Nebosh. That was the kind of guy that they used. So it wasn't me. You get that was the kind of guy. That was the kind of guy they used to get the council to approve the change in design, and it was a change in external design. What am I saying? Emphasis on protection. What material of construction? What are those things you have used, even within the office, in the interior? So we say, oh, we're doing interior design. In those interior design, what are those materials we have used that could help ignite fire or that are more flammable? We call something fire loading, meaning that makes the growth of or the spread of fire to be more prominent because of the level of combustion of those materials. Fire protection, very key. Some of us use it, some buildings, even stadium, they use the iron truss or trusses. Yes, for engineering structures, those trusses are good. But for fire safety, if fire is very likely to occur in that facility, can we then case the iron structure? I will tell you why from theory of conduction. So can we case? Can we put concrete around the stanchion, or what you call the iron column, so that the rate of or the speed of its conduction can be reduced? I said there is what we call fire prevention, which is fire safety by education. There is what we call fire protection, which is dependent on the material of construction. All right. There's what we call fire detection and suppression. Number 3, listen to this: fire prevention, fire protection. I just mentioned now fire detection and suppression. It's just on the initial 2. Fire detection, or what we call the fire detectors or smoke detectors, as you may know them, are those equipments that quickly or hastily, identify the presence of smoke or abnormal heat condition. So it could be heat detector and not necessarily fire detector. So abnormal condition. So it's detecting that, oh, this place is too hot. It's detecting that, oh, there is smoke coming from somewhere because the optical lens are getting blocked. Then it gives off sound to the fire alarms panel system. So using the blaster, the fire alarm, the flasher, or whatever system you have, just to notify the occupants that, okay, something is actually going wrong. That's fire suppression. That's fire detection. There's also fire suppression, which most times are automatic, which is when your sprinkler system or your sprinkler system just come up. So if whether it's water sprinkler system or your FM200 or your argonite or your nitrogen gas, whatever system you have used, or even the CO2 system itself, when it just go off automatically and discharge itself so that it can actually suppress the fire by smoldering or by cooling, by injecting gas into the space or by pouring water into that space. And lastly, which is what you are familiar with and why we're here, is what we call the firefighting. Hello. I've spoken about fire prevention. I will show you prevention in this class. I've spoken about fire protection, which you just need to take the understanding out of this class to then go back to your office, to your space, to the facility you're managing to see if the material of construction or things you have there are not going to cause quick spread or ignition of fire. I've spoken about fire suppression and detection and suppression, where you have to use the smoke detector or heat detector system, as you may have it, depending on what you do in that space. And of course, if you have the automatic system, the water sprinkler automatic system, or the FM200 in your maybe the data center, or your computer, your server room, as we usually put it, or whatever you have comes under that system. Then the final one is fire fighting system, which could be via water truck, fire extinguisher, your hydrant system, and what have you. Any question so far? Any confusion? Any confusion or any question? Okay, I take silence as positive. So anything that we have that we use that help us to, put off fire is a firefighting equipment. And it could be passive, or can I expand this slide and see? No. I think you're going too fast. No, what's happening? You're going too fast. Go to the very first slide. Let me.
All right, so the very first slide. All right.
Yes, please.
The very first slide.
I was laying background. You don't worry. I'm just laying background. For the past 10 minutes. Okay. Yeah.
Is it all right?
Just stop here. Yes, okay. It's right there. So I want to just lay emphasis around the passive and active. Okay. So the fire system can be passive and can be active. By the word passive, we mean that we need somebody to actually go in there and activate it. For instance, our fire extinguisher. Have you seen instances why fire extinguisher even got burnt? The extinguisher even got burnt. Yes, because it is actually a passive system. It's a system. So when I say passive, something waiting to be activated. It's a system that cannot operate itself. It needs help. It's an handicap. Yeah. So it's a disabled. So okay, don't let me use the word disabled. That will not sound right. So it's the system that needs someone, an human being, to actually go in there and activate. Whereas the active system is a system that senses the presence of either smoke, fire, or abnormal earth condition, and to discharge, then to work. Next, please. Next slide. Next slide, please. Am I audible? Next slide. Lamide.
Yes, sir.
Or Baraka. Next slide, please. It doesn't move here. Is it my network?
Yes, I think it's the network, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Just tell me the header.
All right.
Okay. Okay, I've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay, the basic principles of fire. So this is fire prevention. So let me patiently take this page. For fire to start, 3 things must come together. And that's what we call the fire triangle. 3 things must come together. The first thing is that there must be presence of fuel in combustible state. I use the word combustible state, or should I use the word vapor in a vaporized state? Fuel is everywhere, but it has to be in a state where it is ready to go off before it can then lead to fire. Everything that burns in vapor state. Even though we have three main states for fuel. So why am I using the word states? Don't let me confuse us. Okay, so there are 3 forms. Let me use the word form. So there are 3 forms by which a fuel can actually exist. It could be liquid, it could be solid, and it could be gaseous. In chemistry, they will call it phases or phase. But for simplicity here, let's say there are 3 forms where there are 3 forms where where the fuel can actually exist. Okay, so that fuel in its solid or liquid phase will not ignite unless it is vaporized. So meaning, in a nutshell, there must be a fuel, either it is solid, liquid, or gas. So whether you have petrol or diesel, whether you have your cloth or wood or foam, or whether you have your cooking gas, they are all fuel, and they can actually, give off they can actually convert or change states to the point where they will then, ignite. But it won't ignite unless the ignition temperature is reached. So that's where heat or temperature comes in. Unless it is hot to the point where that hotness or that heat can lead to ignition, that fuel will not ignite. Maybe we need to say at this point that everything has its ignition point. Everything can burn, and everything that burns has a temperature at which it burns. It's not the same temperature. It's not at the same temperature that that petrol will burn versus or compared to diesel. So you'll be hearing things like, oh, petrol is highly flammable or more flammable. It's not to say that diesel is not flammable, but at about 45 degrees Celsius, the petrol might go off. So you've seen where a fuel tanker is actually discharging at the filling station, and suddenly there is an explosion or there is fire. Well, that may not be 100% due to temperature, but again, so there could be an earthing issue where you can have some residual electricity, or called static electricity, causing ignition. That is possible. So we're not going to rule that out. So we're not going to say because there is an explosion that it is because of heat. No, the other things. But we're only saying that every material has its own temperature, can burn at different temperature or temperatures. So we need to understand the material we're working with so that we can be careful around the heat source we're introducing. And of course, oxygen. Fire is a living thing. Fire only survives when and where there is oxygen. If you take out oxygen, there will be no fire. So if you feel or you think is a lie, can you just throw maybe if you have hollow block around you? When I say hollow block, I mean yeah, so brick block. So when you have hollow brick block around you, you can just throw in maybe some piece of paper into that block, ignite it and cover it. Then you see that the light. What am I even saying? If you have iron buckets, metallic buckets, don't use petrol. Maybe just get some paper, some old newspaper, put in that metallic bucket, pour maybe some kerosene, ignite your match. You see that fire will come up. Then find a cover or something to cover that bucket. The fire will go off. Why? Fire needs oxygen to breathe. Okay? So these three things, the material that can burn, the temperature that can burn that material, and the oxygen for survival must be present before there can be fire. So in that facility, be very sure that two of these are always present. As I speak in my house, two are always present with us. What are those two? The material that can burn, including our own cloth, and the oxygen. Because even we can't survive without oxygen. So any place you can stay, then fire can stay. That's it. That's a trick. So don't let somebody tell you that, oh, fire cannot happen here. It's not by faith. Because if it's by faith, there will be no work. So it's faith and work. In as much you believe, you're strongly willed, you say, no, there is no fire incident here. Please, you need to work, and this is part of the work. Understanding how fire can happen. So fire involves rapid oxidation. It uses up the oxygen so quickly. Fire involves the material that can burn to burn. What you have control over, facility managers, what you have control over is the ignition temperature, is the heat source. So when you see some organization saying, oh, there is no smoking in this facility, it's because a lit cigarette is an ignition source. When you see some companies saying, oh, we don't accept joint cable for industrial purpose, even some are for even domestic purpose, but most time for industrial because of the heat, the amount of current, energy that will travel within that cable, within that conductor. At that point where there is a joint, if you are not using an industrial conductor, there is something we call conductor. It's just like it's a small plastic that allows continuity. If you are not using that industrial conductor, at that point where you are joining two cables, so this wire and that wire, the wire is not long enough, so you bring another one to complete it. See where you made that joint, then there will be some form of arcing, overheating that will cause in the along that cable on that spot. So as FM, we must understand that ignition is what we can control. Then we move forward to say we can control even where we store the fuel. So for instance, we can we must not allow fuel, diesel, or generator to be diesel or petrol to be stored in the generator house. It has to be far away from the generator. When I say far away, I don't mean too far away though. If you don't have a static storage tank, so if you don't have your fuel storage tank, please, and I've inspected facilities where you see them storing fuel in drums, in metallic drums. There is no issue. You can store your fuel in metallic drums, but that fuel must not be stored beside. I don't even understand. It must not be stored beside its source, beside the generator exhaust or what have you. Next slide. I want to talk about this ABCD right now. Next slide. Next slide, please.
Yeah,
Are we together?
Yes. How about this?
Okay, sorry, I was muted. Okay, so this is just to further buttress what I've said. That oxygen needs to be between 18 to 21%, you know, for us to have that ignition. The ignition temperature of the foil must be reached before it can ignite. And the possible sources could be naked flame, like the cigarettes I was talking about. It could be eating elements like our microwave, our oven, electric oven, and stuff like that that we might actually have in our especially residential facilities. You know, so defective electrical wiring, very key. This is actually one of the main causes. You know, when people try to manage what they have, or they engage incompetent electrical technician to work, and that could be an issue for them. Next slide, please. So we're talking about fire prevention. Next slide.
Yes, sir. The next slide.
Yes, please. Okay. And the next slide is talking about the foil that could be in liquid, gaseous, or solid states. I think I've mentioned that. And that it could be anything from our clothing, furniture, and what have you. So a good understanding of how fire starts will give you an edge in preventing or fighting the fire. Oxygen sustains combustion. It raises the temperature of the material to its ignition temperature. And some sort of combustible materials of foil, which can then lead to a chemical reaction. So fire is an exothermic chemical reaction. Exo meaning outside. Thermic, heat means heat. Reaction means that more than one thing, and the two or more things need to come together. So when you say fire is an exothermic, so that means it's a reaction that involves giving off heat, exothermic, heat and light. So when there is fire, you will see heat, it will be hot. You will see light in form of flame. And most times, because the material may not be, because the oxygen available may not be able to balance that equation, you then be having what we call the incomplete combustion. And that's why we have smoke being given off. When when you don't have enough sufficient oxygen, what you then have is smoke, that's CO, carbon monoxide, being given off. So fire has those attributes. Fire will give off light, heat, so it can burn. It can burn the attendants, meaning that it can burn someone that's trying to put it off because of the heat. Smoke, it can choke. So if you hear people say you choke. So it's blocking it's constricting your airflow. It's inhibiting the way you breathe. It chokes. And not just choke. If there is any underlying condition, like maybe the person is maybe asthmatic before now, so the person has a prevailing underlying condition, or maybe the person is even anemic, then sudden inhalation of carbon monoxide, of smoke, can trigger other pre-existing condition, which could then hasten hospitalization and maybe fatality. You get? So fire is not something that we should all pray for, even though fire is also a friend, but it can also be an enemy. Next slide, please. I'm sorry, I'll find a way of maybe logging on to my system the next time so that I can change this slide myself. So I've been jumping from meetings to meetings since morning.
No problem, sir. No problem.
Okay. So what do we need to do? We need to detect fire and respond to it by ensuring that our building is equipped with what? Smoke detector and suppression system. Train our workers so they can know what to do in case of emergency. And we assign role to all staff. We also need to have what we call a building layout or facility layout so that even outsiders like firefighters that have come to airports can know or find their way around the building without even speaking to anyone. Next slide. As an FM, your role is strategic. As an FM, so when I say FM now, I mean facilities manager. I don't expect you to be the person carrying fire extinguisher up and down. Not to say you can't, but I'm saying that when there are emergencies, or even before emergency, that is not supposed to be your job, unless maybe you don't have people working for you. If you have people working for you, then I think you should be more strategic. I think you should play a more strategic role, which involves planning and planning and execution, and not you should not be the one doing the actual job. What do I mean? FM role should be in fire safety, should be strategic. You should determine all activities that can lead to fire, smoke, or heat generation. What we're saying here is that you should do a risk assessment. What are those activities that you do in your facility that can lead to fire? So do you have welding facility? Do you have generator house? Do you have operating equipment, especially if you're in the manufacturing? Do you have do you bring in electrical guys, contractors to come and work on your site? Of course, all facilities have got lighting, AC, and what have you. So those are things that could, lead to what do you call it now? They could actually lead to fire. So what do you then need to do as an FM? Very simple. Identify these things. Then last class, we're talking about, we're in the HSC class. Even the last class was, like someone said, it was the information was just too much. And someone said his head was about to burst. So the risk assessment we spoke about in last class, where we look at the likelihood of occurrence and the impact if it occurs. I won't lie to you, impact of fire is always a 5 or 4, major or catastrophic. If there's fire that will engulf the building, the damage will be either major or catastrophic. And if you ask me, that risk should be transferred, meaning that you must insure that building. In the next 50 years, there might not be fire. But any day that the fire occurs could actually bring down the company, the organization. And in my intro, I was also trying to lay emphasis on business continuity. That if you don't have what it takes to restart your company, there's going to be an issue. So as an FM, your role is strategic. Determine all activities. Now, your risk assessment document is a living document. So you might have determined your activities and a new one comes up. Please just update what we call the risk register. Just update, just add the new things that you just saw now. What are those activities? How can this activity lead to fire?
what is the likelihood? If it occurs, what's the severity impact? All right. Okay. What can we do? Or what do we have right now that can help us minimize this? What can we do to ensure that this potential, this risk, does not materialize, does not become an outcome? And that is your risk assessment. And that is what you need to do as an FM, not carrying fire extinguisher up and down. You need to have an oversight on the effective and cost-efficient use of resources. Yes. At times, we just feel like we need to do something and we want to do it. No. For fire safety, it should be born out of the risk assessment. So if it's an office facility, of course, you need fire extinguishers, DCP and CO2. Depending on the size of your organization and depending on what you do, operation, they can be talking of, okay, do we need a surveillance system? Let me say this. I said there are four major categories of fire safety management. Maybe I didn't capture it that way, but that's what I was trying to tell you. That there is fire prevention, there is fire protection, there is fire detection and suppression, and there is firefighting. For your facility to be safe, my brothers and sisters, my colleagues and my senior colleagues, for you to be safe, 3 out of these 4 must be present. Fire prevention, you must understand what fire is, and you get that understanding in this class. Your facility should be constructed with materials that cannot quickly catch fire. And in case there is an upgrade, this usually happen maybe during festive period like Christmas. When you want to have the Christmas tree, you want to beautify. Sir, ma, be sure that what you are bringing in to beautify is not going to cause a fire disaster. At times, maybe the company may decide, oh, let us change, let us restructure. Well, I'm not saying to not change, but just be sure that what you are bringing in, what you are introducing, does not have a very, should I say, low flash points, meaning that it doesn't catch fire easily. Please. Then determine what you need based on the risk that is available, not just based on your thought process. Okay? I've spoken around the hazard and risk management. No, stay on that slide, please. Stay on the previous slide, please.
All right.
Yeah. I've spoken around the mitigation measures, things you need to do. Safety consideration for firefighters and the public. These have to do with your arrangements. I said you should have fire prevention, protection, detection and suppression, then firefighting making 4. Under the firefighting itself, if you have your pen, write this down again. Under the firefighting itself, you should have at least 4 groups. 4. 1, you should have the group that does what we call search and rescue. Search and rescue. People that go around to be sure that nobody's trapped. All right? You should have the group that does head counts at the muster point. Muster point is your fire assembly point. It's that place that people gather within your facility when there is fire. Muster point is usually the safest point as at this time, as at today. But it could change because fire can even start from the muster point. So don't let people just go there to say, oh, they said this is the muster point. They will have to go there. Fire may be starting too close to the muster point. So somebody should actually take the head count or what the roll call at the muster point, at the fire assembly point, making 2 groups. I said the first one is search and rescue. The second one is head count at the muster point. The third one is communication. People that make that phone call to fire service 767 or 112, people that contact the neighbors, people that communicate and make sure that things are well, people that raise the alarm, people that ensure that the gate is closed, people that ensure that the community is aware that, so when I say community is aware, so when they close the gate and maybe they use the microphone to address, or they pick the phone and call neighboring facilities. So maybe you are co-located. So maybe it's an Agbara industrial estate. It is an, which industrial estate do we have again? Here in Lagos. So it's an, maybe Keja industrial estate where you have other companies. So making a phone call to those companies, they can even send help if they have the capacity for their fire truck and what have you. So there must be that group called communication group. Then the fourth group is called the firefighting group. Those are the guys that carry the fire extinguishers. Those are the guys that, so if you have the dedicated fire team or fire service, their fire team, firefighting team, fantastic, you know, in your own organization, very, very fine. So it's the firefighting group. So as an FM or as an engineer, when we say firefighting, we're not saying it should just be those guys that will drive the fire truck or carry the fire extinguishers. There are 3 other groups. It's search and rescue. People that will just check that nobody's trapped and move people out to the muster point. People that are at the muster point, if you use a clocking system or an attendance, people signing their name. Fine. If you don't use, there'll be team leads, people that know their people. There are supervisors, there are managers, they know their people. Let that head count happen at the muster point. And before, as in, when I say before, I mean tomorrow morning, try and have a list of who should be in search and rescue team, who should be in head count, who should be with communication, which is always the least populated. We don't just have many people in communication, and who should be in firefighting. Is the communication and the search and rescue team that will go and meet the fire service team when they get on your site and tell them and show them the way to know, so they know the exact location where the fire has started from, and they can help those guys navigate their ways around your facility. So I'm saying, so as an FM, that fire extinguisher bit is just one part. If you're actually writing, you'd have counted about these 7 things I've said now. 1 being around fire prevention, protection, detection and suppression, and firefighting. Then that firefighting now has, you know, under 4 subdivisions, which is search and rescue, communication, head count at the muster point, and lastly, firefighting itself. Okay. So I'm speaking to fire consideration for firefighters and the public. Then lastly, fire risk prediction and staffing corresponding to, yeah, I think that's what I just said now. Staffing, you know, when you try to, you know, make sure that you have the right number of people to carry out the tasks for you. Okay, next slide. So we should, I know I'm talking too fast and too, so just please, if I'm talking too fast, just let me know. I won't know.
Oh, no problem, sir. You are doing fine.
You have been talking since 9 a.m.
Go
okay,
ahead,
so
sir.
Okay. So next slide, please. Okay. So these are the standards. That's why I was asking my Oga from SON if she was looking at standard at that time. So there's what called the NFPA 10. There's what called the NFPA 13, and there's what called NFPA 72. And NFPA 10 is around fire extinguishers. Okay, so NFPA means National Fire Protection Association. Is Yankee, is US. And one reason why we use NFPA is that well, Nigeria was colonized by the British guys, and yes, Nebos is even UK, but globally, especially across Europe, the NFPA standard. NFPA is a standard. Is in the US is a binding code of conduct. It's a binding standard. You know, in UK, we have what we call the BS, British Standard, BS 99, BAS. So we've got standard in the UK, but organizations that want to comply, especially in Nigeria, most times. So when I say comply, I don't know if people will tell me how they are complying now. So there is what we call the fire risk engineering audit, where insurance guys will actually treat your facility before they can, insure you and everything. So most times these multinationals that actually have that arrangement, and they use the US system. So that's why we speak to NFPA 10, which is for fire extinguishers, and then NFPA 13, which is for the water sprinkler system. Even to design water sprinkler system, we need to use an NFPA standard. Then smoke detector system, where you have to use one smoke detector within it's 1 square meter. If there is no beam, if there's beam, what do you need to do? There are those standards that we check and make sure that we conform with them what we are designing. So you can take a look. So if you register, so if you go to an NFPA, I don't know whether it's .com or dots. I don't know what the dot it is now. Just Google National Fire Protection Association USA. So you should see the link. Then register on that site. Use any of your Yahoo or Gmail or anything to register. Then from there, you can actually have free access to this standard view only. You can't download. If you want to download, you pay. And you pay some very good dollars. Now the dollar is at 500 naira, so you pay some good money. So you can't download, but you can view. So if there's something you're looking for, you can log on with your ID. Then I hope those things are still free now, but I've joined for a very long time, so they were free when I joined. They are still free for me, so to say. So I bought NFPA 101, that's life safety code, and within 2 years, it's become obsolete. Why? They changed the standard. So when they didn't change everything, they added some things. So that means what I have then becomes a guidance document. I can't use it to implement. So that's why it's better you just do your online resourcing, at the time when you need it. And when it's then very compulsory that you want to buy, then but be sure that if you go and buy this 2021, yes. So if you buy NFPA 10, maybe 2020 version, in another 2 years, they may be having another NFPA 10, 2023 version. Then what you have you can't implement, you can't use. Then so you've wasted your money. So that's. But if you can view, please, you can view, especially when you have to consume something you are looking for. You can always check. But let me advise that at a minimum, inspect all your fire equipment once every month. Inspect, please, at a minimum. Ensure that you carry out preventive maintenance. So something like the smoke detector every 6 months. So can somebody go on mute, please? I'm getting that echo. So something like the smoke detector, please, every 6 months, make sure it is serviced. And for the other ones, like the sprinkler system, please conform with the installer's instruction. And don't try and be too careful with money, so don't end up losing the money. The truth of the matter is, if you've been insured, it is based on those things that you have in place and based on their functionality. If fire happens and those things are not functional, then insurance will not pay you, or they may have to reduce what they are paying you, because you are also liable because you didn't do what you're supposed to do. Okay. So carry out tests, periodic testing, especially for your. So you have fire pump. You have your hydrants. You have fire. Please ensure that you start those fire pump. Most times you are going to have to maybe a diesel and an electrical. Of course, jockey will be there. And even if you have one, maybe you just have diesel. Make sure you start those fire pumps so that you are sure that the battery has not. So it's just like parking your vehicle for 2 weeks without, igniting the engine or cranking the engine, the battery may actually run flat, even though you didn't do anything to it. Then that means that means when you want to use the car, you can't use it. Same thing applies for fire equipment. If you don't test them, then the day you want to use, they might fail you. Next slide, please. Or do you want to go on ergonomics break now? Next slide. You want to go on ergonomics break now for 5-10 minutes? Nobody's talking.
Which you can still continue maybe for the next 20 minutes so that we can be like around 5:30.
Okay.
Our prefect has spoken.
Okay, next slide. I can't see the slide. I'm still seeing. Okay, so this is just a checklist for your fire extinguisher.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So this. No. Yeah, this one. Conducting fire extinguisher inspection. So this is your checklist. So that are the things you should look out for when you have your extinguisher. Accessibility. Can you quickly get to the point where the fire extinguisher is? Pressure indicator. That on the DCP, that green gauge, that circular gauge is the spindle in that gauge. Is it on green? Then have you labeled your extinguisher so that you can easily identify its location within the premises? Does the extinguisher have pin and seal? I'll show you when we look at the body of the extinguisher now. Is the service date clearly indicated? Is the on or hose in good condition? Then the base of the cylinder bottle is not rotten, so it's actually pressured or pressurized. The installation height is the extinguisher not installed at the height that is too high that we can't carry. We need to look at our height, our average height, while installing this extinguisher so that we don't just install the extinguisher in a place where you can't even carry it up. Then I've seen places where they actually chain and padlock extinguishers. If you padlock extinguishers, there's no way you use that extinguisher when you need, because you can't be looking for the key when fire outbreak is actually happening. Next slide. So I think I should mention labeling, legibility also. All those things that are written on the body of the extinguisher, are they legible? Can you read them? Next slide, please. So this is just an illustration. So don't go out there and say, Okalapo told you should not service the extinguisher. I didn't tell you that. But what is that you should inspect your extinguisher every month. Have a checklist. Those 10 things in that previous slide, just put them on. Just put them in a table. Then answer yes or no. So if it is a no, so turn it into a question. Is it accessible? Is it installed at a height that is easy to use for everyone? When I say 1.5 meter, which is about 5 feet, everybody may understand that, okay, just can everybody access it? Can even do a simple sample, in form of a questionnaire in your office. You may be doing your inspection, just say, oh, there's pictures here. Can you guys access? Can you carry it easily? Something like that. And if they say, oh, no, it's too high, then you know that after doing your next installation, then you need to correct that. So biannually. So somebody will be asking me, why do you have to service extinguisher every 6 months? And not every year. Anyway, when there is no, so as it is, there is no standard that says you should service the extinguisher every 6 months. But when there is no standard, we usually copy what is being done in the oil and gas. All right. So in the Mineral Oil and Gas Safety Regulation 1997, as released by the DPR, Department of Petroleum Resources, where you don't have specific service dates for an equipment, service them every 6 months, then you are safe. When you don't, so you could go somewhere and say, and you tell you the service every year. You can ask the fire extinguisher, you can ask your fire maintenance guy. We tell you every 6 months. Yes, the guy wants to make his money now. Every 6 weeks, every 4 months. You can ask the fire service guy and say, oh, my friend service every 6 months. I service every 12 months. When we finalize, the guy will tell you no, honestly. So then you are not asking yourself, when should I service? Please service every 6 months. It's not something that is so expensive, but it is highly critical. So we call it SCE, safety critical elements or equipment. It's very critical. If fire happens and your extinguisher does not work, you will regret not spending that 2,000 naira. If it's something like maybe $2 million now, yes, we can say, okay, let's push, or even $2,000. I say, oh, let's push. But if it's something you spend $5, today's exchange rate, $5, you service your extinguisher, your 9 kg extinguisher, then why not? I want to spend that $5. Okay? So, conduct hydrostatic test. That's for the cylinder bottles. That should be done every 5 years. Hydrostatic, that's you pressure test with water. Not you. Just tell them to do hydrostatic stuff for you. They were gonna do it. Okay? And your mechanical parts on an annual basis. So just, you know what? Just get a competent person. All these things will be taken care of. Inspect fire hydrants, fire hose wheel, and everything. We do this weekly when I was in Wando. So I think I left in 2013, right? Okay. So yeah. So over 8 years ago, every week, every morning, the fire guys must go around the facility and test the hydrants every morning. At the point we turn it to every shift. We have 3 shifts, or we used to have 3 shifts then. I don't know what they have now. That's one downstream. So we at the point we decided doing every shift. At the point myself and my boss will now do random after people have done their shifts to even confirm. So we call it quality assurance. So to even confirm that what they have done is correct. When we do our walkabout, myself and Esther, we open the hydrants randomly. If it's stiff, as in it doesn't open closely, I will note that thing. When I get back to the office, I will check the fire guy's reports or the inspector's reports and see whether he has identified that we need to grease a particular hydrant edge or not. That's also why oil and gas. If there is fire, then you are in soup. So that should apply to even our facility. When you're walking past, check the extinguishers. I don't say you can't carry extinguisher and be checking. Because you are supposed to have delegated that activity, unless you are working alone. Then is your baby. Otherwise, you're supposed to. And you're working alone, please. Can you request for copper, for 1 copper or something? It won't cost the organization a lot of money. Maybe 15,000, 20,000 to pay the copper, and you can then get value for some of these things we are talking about. All right. So your suppression system must be inspected by a competent engineer, not just anyhow. That not just a competent engineer as an individual, a competent engineering company. That will be clear. So you know why? So that if you come to and inspect your suppression system, I will come maybe just give you an advice. I won't sign off. Why? Because that is not my call. 1, 2, I don't have a registered engineering company that is meant to do that. No, if you use a it could be expensive by ₦1 or ₦2. But if you use an registered engineering company and anything goes wrong, be sure that the license, when we collect that license, the company will be registered if a case can be established against them. Then the guy that signed off will lose his current license. It's very simple. So license is not, so you can't. I've been somewhere, I won't mention that company, that was last year. I was asked to come and inspect their ammonia tank and maybe give them some. Yes, I went there, inspected their ammonia tank, told them their leak points and everything. But God forbid, I won't sign off. Because that's not my call. I just told them, you know what, you need to bring in the NDT inspectors that will inspect this tank, then certify the tank as good or bad, or maybe help you fix what the issues are. Then they can give you a certificate and, get maybe an engineer to seal or stamp for them. They know how to do that. But for me to come and, because of money, I won't do that, because if that tank should then explode or if anything should happen, then be sure that that company that just paid you ₦10 because they want to save money. And instead of going to get a company, they're looking for an individual that can do it for them. And they now came to call me that come and help me do it. The truth of the matter is, if there is an incident, they will be the first to report to you. And they won't tell Coren or whoever it is that, oh, they try to save costs. Or they won't tell the courts that they try to save costs by, pressurizing you to do one or two things that you don't have the license to do. You get? So it happens, FM, please don't pressurize these guys. Please don't pressurize these guys. Let them do their job and give you the verdict. You can try to understand what is happening, but please don't pressurize them. All right? Let them, because it's then ensure you engage a competent one. Don't go and call Baba Kafaya or Baba Samuel or something. I'm not saying Baba Samuel is not good. I'm only saying that check for qualification, check for license. All right. Next slide. At 5:30, we're going to go on break for 5 to 10 minutes. So if you want to catch up with your emails, you want to, make a call. Okay. So these are some existing standards, what called the legal requirements. So there is a National Fire Safety Code 2013, signed by the Minister of Interior at that time. All right. That's what we call the IIFSO 2005 in the UK, which is the Regulatory Reform Fire Safety Order. The law that needs to be complied with in the UK, not just England, but also Scotland, Highland, and what have you. So that's very key. Then in US, they also have what called the Occupational Health and Safety Agency, OSHA, OSHA. I'm not saying OSHA Academy, you didn't hear academy from my mouth, OSHA. And this association agency. So, okay, that's OSHA.gov. So you can check all those standards there. Next slide, please. I can't see the slide again. What was that phone? Okay, I've seen it. Next slide, please. So we have 5 minutes to go on, please. Okay, so this is from the OSHA documents, saying that there must be alternative exit routes. So in the workplace, please let there be an exit route. Don't let it be one door. So if there is fire, people can escape through the alternative route. Ensure that alternative route is not constructed. That's fire protection now. It's not constructed with materials that can burn easily. So ensure that at least that route is not made of wood. That's be concretized or made of brick, that's block, and must lead to an exit. It shouldn't lead, your exit route should not lead into the building. It should lead you outside the building. So if I follow it, say something is an exit. If I follow it, then I should burst out of the building. It should be there should be proper signage, you know, directing people, even a stranger. So I can see the arrow sign, I can see the now the emergency lights and all those things there. Next slide. So start asking yourself. I know somebody said, oh, she wants to see, wants to learn what other things you need to put in place in our organization. Ask yourself, do we have exit routes? Yes. Where does this exit route lead to? If it leads back to the building, you don't have an exit route. I'm sorry. That will lead you out of the building. Do we have signages around that place to show? Please, next slide. Next slide. Do you have signages to show? The door to the emergency, the door on the emergency exit, does it open outside? Please don't, the door must open outside. So some people actually have maybe two swinging doors. Because it's easy for you to push the door than to pull the door if there are people that are scrambling to get out of the building. It's easy for you to just push the door and everybody goes out. The door must not be, the access way must not be blocked. Do we have it here? Access way road must not be blocked. It has to be free of obstacles. You understand that? It has to be free of obstacles. Then I don't expect us to then have things like office desks, because most places where I go to, that's where you keep the cleaners, right? God will judge us. That's where we keep the cleaners. So the cleaners always sit around the fire exit routes. We can't afford to have a small room for them to sit. The cleaners drivers just they hang around within the facility. They just hang around, So which is not fine. Please, we need to find a way. I know space constraint, but we just need to find a way around that. Exit must be free of obstacle. The door must swing, things like that. And of course, the height depends. So these are things you can't change, most times, but you can also change by you can also change by just checking and advising and trying to implement, make sure that happens. All right, next slide. Okay, and let's talk about fire prevention plan. Now we should have a plan. We should have a plan. It should be kept in the workplace. Everybody must know the plan. What are we saying? If there is fire, proceed to the muster points. Then they must know the muster points. They must know their responsibility in case of fire. So please, when we're having I don't know if we have town meeting or safety meeting or on a monthly basis. If we don't, you can use memo. You understand? And you can send us with high priority and a mark for now. A mark for response or what have you. Okay. Can we go on break now, please?
All right, sir. Take your legs to palm.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, sir. Welcome back.
Apologies, I was on a long call during the break.
No problem. No problem. So,
okay. So what is being shown here is just contents of that fire plan. What should the fire plan have? So we're saying that you should list out all the major hazards. If you are handling hazardous chemicals, list them out. Then, how do you control combustibles? Then what is the schedule for maintaining your fire equipment? Who is responsible for what? And what part of this plan should you review constantly? So if you have that documented, then it becomes your fire prevention plan. Next slide.
Any problem, sir?
Yes, I can't see the screen. 1 minute. Okay, I can see it now. Next slide.
All right, sir.
Okay, so your fire detection system, which is the smoke detector, like I said, please just engage competent people, and they're going to install this in compliance with installation standards. Please don't try and do this yourself, unless you're just installing for a shop or for a kiosk. Or if it is for a facility, please get the competent people to do the fire detection system installation for you. Next. Testing and maintenance. If you have a maintenance team in-house, great. They should be able to, to a large extent, help with the testing of your equipment, your fire equipment. So the internal ability to test is very key. So please get competent people that can carry out those tests internally, and ensure they are trained to do so. And your detector system should be cleaned as part of your maintenance system. So the smoke detector should be cleared of dust or cleaned of dust, other particles, just for you to ensure that, okay, they won't give you the false alarm and they are in good working condition. Of course, some uses battery, so we need to check that the batteries also, your 12-volt batteries, are replaced every 6 months during service or as need arise. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide, please. It's not showing.
Any problem, sir?
Yes, I can't see the next slide. I'm still seeing the
Okay.
testing and maintenance.
All right, all right.
Fire detectors protection. So most times these detectors are even made of non-corrosive materials, so plastic and what have you. But we're saying that you should ensure that your fire detection system is protected from, from corrosion or physical impacts that could damage it or get them damaged. And the detector system, while they are being installed, they need to ensure that they're installed independent of their tubings or wire. That means they need to be screwed either to the board of to your ceiling board or nailed to the wall or something. Your installation has to be done correctly, and you should not hang the smoke detectors by their wires or tubings. Next slide. Response time. So the quicker you are to respond to a fire incident based on your detection, the better for you. Better put, if you have the system in place and you're able to detect that smoke or there is fire early enough, then the chances of you putting off that smoke or fire is higher than when you don't have anything that detects this for you. Do not be delayed by employers more than 30 seconds unless the fire is necessary for employees' immediate safety. So if there will be stampede, so if it is a multiple use building and there is fire on the 4th floor, we have be sure that people on the 4th floor should actually evacuate the building before people on the 6th floor, right? So if you are delayed, you're on the 6th floor and you are told to hold on a minute, so people on the 4th floor can evacuate. Then it is for a purpose, not just because you don't want to delay it. At times, you may even be delayed for your own safety. So just ensure that we trust in the system, or we create a system that people can trust and work with. Next slide. Location. So this, just rely on, I will skip this slide, just rely on NFPA, NFPA 72, for us to talk about the spacing, distribution, location of fire detectors. NFPA 72 will do this, but basically saying that the 9 by 9 square meter, so it's 1 square meter room, you should have at least one fire extinguisher in that location. But I leave this to the standard, so consult the standard to know how to distribute your smoke detectors. Next slide. Next slide, please. So it's still talking about the design of the automatic sprinkler system, which is an NFPA 13. So I would say you should refer to an NFP 13. In fact, you don't need to bother yourself. Just ensure that a competent company is given this job, and you can be the rest assured that they will actually design to suit, the purpose. So this slide is just telling us what we need to watch out for, but doesn't mean that we have to do all this. But it's not in your area of specialization. So give the job to who can do it and look out for all this when the job is being executed. Next slide. So acceptance test, a proper acceptance test should be conducted. So this also should be conducted by competent people. So I do static tests for the pipe, so I ensure that the pipe can withstand the pressure that will be coming from the pump. You flush the underground connections. You test the drain facility. You operate the valves. You ensure that they can open and they are not, they are still serviceable and maintainable. So you need to carry out these tests from time to time, for you to even accept. So at the point of accepting the installation, you need to carry out this test. Then while in use, doing inspection, also you need to test this from time to time, depending on your facility. Next, please. Okay, so this is just talking about the water sprinkler system. So this is how it looks. These are the sprinkler head looks like. So like I said again, NFP 13 will help you with the design. This spacing is not cast in stone. It depends on the type of facility, use of the facility. So when I say type of facility, so is it a multi-story building? Is it a multiple-use building? What kind of building? What kind of structure is the building? Then what are they doing in the building? Which is the use of the facility? Are they working with chemicals? Are they storing things on shelves? So the design will differ based on what is being done. So please don't, if it were occupational health issue, we say don't self-medicate. So this, don't self-treat. Just reach out and you'll be sure that you get results. Next slide. So fire emergency action plan. Every facility should have an emergency action plan. What will you do in case of emergency? So here is as good as you are plotting your risk assessment. You are creating or developing the risk assessment too. That's what you need to do. Okay. So how the hazard may cause harm? What's the possibility of the harm occurring? What's the severity if it occurs? These are those basic risk assessments that need to be conducted. And every facility must actually have this.
The next slide, sir.
Next slide, please. So this is the risk assessment process. So what's the operating context? So what is the use of that facility or that building? Then what are the hazards that can pose threat? Then what's the likelihood and severity of the risks. Can we prioritize the risks? Then I identify different options to tackle the risks. Then can you then select the best option that could be used based on the available resources. Next slide. I want us to run so we can then take questions. We spoke extensively about this during the HSC class. That it's called hierarchy of control. You eliminate the hazard. If you can't, can you substitute or reduce it? If you can't, can you introduce auxiliary control, which can be either isolation or by caging? Can you use administrative control like training, permit to work system, contractor selection, and those admin tools that can be used, to manage to manage the risk process. Then can there be a use of PPE that can help us reduce the risks? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so when you are doing your risk assessment, can you document your findings or record your findings? So who might be harmed? What can we do to control the hazard? So just look at this carefully, especially the safety precautions that has been taken. Are they sufficient and are they adequate? So answer on your own, answer the question of adequacy and sufficiency. So the answer is, are your actions, your safety actions, are they sufficient? Are they enough? If they are enough, are they effective to tackle these risks? Then again, issue of prioritization is key. You need to prioritize based on risk. So it's a risk-based approach to solving fire safety issue. So you look at the one that is most likely, and you go from that end to the one that is that's lower risk. So by that, you've been able to manage your resources, more effectively than when you just, manage your, so when you manage your resources without doing a risk assessment, then it becomes a bigger issue for you because your resources are limited. So where you're supposed to buy fire extinguishers, maybe you've spent money then trying to repair a fire truck that might still not work. So you need to prioritize and be sure of what you are doing. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay, fire drills and emergency exercises. How often do you plan and do you execute fire drill in your facility on an annual basis? Please, depending on your maturity, meaning depending on how safety aware your people are, please, you need to carry out the fire drill at least once in every 12 months. But most times we advise twice. But even though we understand that the people may be busy, and it was going to the facility again, and you don't have that luxury to have your fire drill done every 6 months, but we advise that you should have a fire drill carried out every 6 months. And when we say fire drill, I mean you sound your alarm, your fire alarm system, and everybody evacuate the building and gather at the muster points for head count. And the head count group or team, ensure that is done. Then at the muster points, then search and rescue team also ensure that nobody is trapped. The communication team actually reach out to neighboring companies or industries, and also the fire service to ensure that they can actually arrive, considering this Lagos traffic. Then your firefighting team are gallant and they are good to go, and they have the right motivation and the right equipment. They have meetings, so they coordinate themselves properly. The fire team know what to do, know what each group should do because of an emergency. This is very key for all of us. Next slide, please. Yeah, so this is just talking around the alarm system, the detection system, so the smoke detector, the sounder, things like that, they are very key. And they tend to warn the occupants of danger, so they can evacuate safely out of the building. So your building must have the fire exit, which is part of your fire protection, and you must then also have the systems in place, smoke detector and what have you, for you to be able to navigate safely. Next slide. Okay, so we said the detect defense of fire. That's the function of a fire alarm system. Of course, the sound to inform the occupants. Then, with proper coordination, you can actually inform the fire service department. So if you have a fire service department in your company, good. That's firefighting or for your fire service department. But if you don't, please 767 or 112 if you're in Lagos. These are the best numbers to have. Then, well, depending on what the design is, so if you are using a magnetically, if you are using a magnetic fire door, then it will actually release the door. So it will release the door so that people can actually go out through the exit. Okay. Then also heat and smoke detector. When there is an alarm, they all go off just to make sure that people are alarmed or are notified and they leave the building as soon as possible. Next slide. Then we're saying that the alarm system can be addressable. Addressable means that it can actually communicate where the fire is, where the fire incident has started from, and then everybody can evacuate. Then also, of course, the incident commander can also address people from the control room, and everybody will be notified and they can act, they'll move. But the analog system, most times is that one that we have, that we then need to operate, let's say, manually now. So there is the addressable system, that you can actually use to notify everyone on different floors that fire has happened on X floor, and you can even control how they evacuate from a building. So and there's something we call PIPs, and there's what we call PIPs and and GIGs. So the PIPs is personal emergency evacuation procedure. So that's actually used for in a place where maybe we have people that have some physical challenges that need to be compliant. So you have people that have some form of impediments, maybe eyes or even leg. So that impairment itself, could lead to, slow reaction during evacuation. So we're then saying that there could be PIPs, so we have a buddy system where someone will basically assist those kind of people. Then there is what we call the GIFs, which has to do with the group evacuation. So in both cases, you need to have, a system, a detective system or system of detection that will make it easy, for people to be notified and for them to evacuate the building. So whether it's addressable or analog, you need something. Next slide, please. Okay. So we've got the wireless, you've got the conventional system, all that. Next slide. So most of us, I know we have the conventional system where we do a lot of wiring, from the smoke detector to the alarm panel, we've got the sounder, all those things. They are fine. Next slide. Next slide, please. Are you there? Okay, so this still talking around the sprinkler system. Of course, we've mentioned at the beginning, we've mentioned between an active and a passive system of fire and fighting equipment, and we rightly said that a passive system actually needs someone to activate it, while an active system can do that automatically. So the fire sprinkler system is an example of an active system that can work automatically. So of course, this water supply is under pressure. So it has been designed. So when there is fire, so this red bulb, we call it a red bulb. So it's like glass that we are seeing in that first picture up there. So it will actually break. That glass will break when it detects heat. So when it breaks, then it actually then causes a short circuit on the system, and the pump should start automatically. And when the pump starts, the water will come out of that sprinkler head and cover and form like an envelope, or work on an umbrella. So it will shower like an umbrella, and it will then cover that space. And that's why that spacing, that sprinkler spacing that I was referring to, NFPA 13, is very important. Because if the sprinkler systems are too far from one another, if they are not well designed, then it could be in the so the fire could actually survive in the uncovered zone. So in determining the distance between one's sprinkler head and the other, we need to first know what is the hazard. Is it light hazard? Is it heavy hazard? So what is the hazard? Then what is the diameter that this sprinkler can cover? So when we know that diameter that it can cover, that will then tell us that end to end, There's always a chart for this. So NFPA 13 will actually guide. But importantly, if you are just installing this, please get a registered engineer or an experienced person to help you with this. Okay, next, please. Next slide, please. Okay, so talking about surveillance system is also like gas sprinkler, you understand, but instead of water, we now have gases contained in in these cylinders. So it could be FM200, it could be nitrogen gas, it could be CO2, it could be argonite, or any inert gas, any gas that can suppress oxygen, and is what you actually need. So it helps to control damage to assets. So it actually discharges. It discharges as soon as the detector, detect that there is presence of fire. So it's a combination of chemicals and or wet agents suppress fires on equipment. I've told you those kind of agents that could be there. So it detects fire through its own sensor. There's a sensor that is installed. It comes with sensor. So it is set at the temperature, then it can then ignite and ask these vessels, these cylinders, to release its contents. So we call it actuator. So it actually actuates and asks and requests that it needs the gas in that space, and the gas will be activated and released. So it carries to the last point: controls and extinguish fire without the intervention of woman. That's the major difference between this and the fire extinguisher. Intervention of human being, interaction with personnel. People need to be trained. No, this you don't need to train anybody. It will decide itself. Just make sure that this is well maintained and is functional. Next slide. I thought we'll have finished this by now. Next slide, please. Okay, I think we've spoken about fire extinguisher, but I think it's good again we talk about it here. Okay, so if the fire is at incipient stage, meaning that if the fire is small, if it's a grown fire, you can't use fire extinguisher. It won't work. But if the fire is at incipient stage or it's just starting, then fire extinguisher is effective. If it's not well used, or let me say, it's not supposed to be used when you don't have control over the fire, or when the fire has gone out of hand. So for a fire that has reached the ceiling, don't use fire extinguisher. For a fire, for an activity or for a fire event that you attend to, such that your own escape route is blocked, please don't attend to that kind of fire. Or when you judge that this fire needs the attention of the fire service, please don't jump in there and say you want to act as a Superman. It's not going to work. Please just leave that fire to burn. Next slide. So LFPA 10 covers this. Okay. So there are 5 classes of fire. So we have the class A fire, which involves ordinary combustible materials in solid states. We have class B fire, which involves liquid or flammable liquid. So it's a liquefiable solid or flammable liquid. We have class C fire, which involves combustible gases. We have class D fire, which involves burning melters. And we have class F fire, F for fish. We have class F fire, which involves animal fats. Next slide. You can write that. Identification of fire extinguisher by color. In fact, I can say identification and distribution of fire by color. So there are basically 5 types of fire extinguishers. You got the CO2, the dry chemical powder, the foam, the water, and the chemical foam. So we call it wet chemical foam. Okay. So if your cylinder is actually red in color, so the new cylinders, the new convention now, all cylinders are color red. So if it is red in color, then please, you then need to understand the color code by the neck of that cylinder, which is what you have here. If it's color black, then it's a CO2 cylinder. But for CO2, it also has a horn as against a hose. If it is DCP, it will be blue in color. If it is water extinguisher, it will blend with the color of the cylinder, which is red. If it's chemical foam, you have it as cream. And if it is wet chemical, you have it as yellow. So the dry chemical powder, or the DCP powder, as we call it, is actually a multi-purpose extinguisher that can work on ABC. I mean, so if it is solid, liquid, or gas, the dry chemical powder can actually work. If the fire is started by an electrical equipment, the dry chemical powder can also work, but it will leave a stain. Because it's made of, so because the content is powdery, and you have, so there's residue, so to say. If it is dry chemical, if it is carbon dioxide, it will work on fire due to electricity, and you also work on class C, which is around gaseous, because the CO2 will dilute the atmosphere, and so you have the gas in its pure form, and that could reduce the growth of the fire. We also have what we call the chemical foam. That one will have cream color, and that is actually very effective on class B, petrol, diesel, and what have you. You have water extinguisher, which is important, as it may, but we need to be careful because you don't want to use this on electrical equipment, so avoid electrocution. Then wet chemical powder, foam. Wet chemical foam. Wet chemical foam is very important because it's effective on class F, which is animal fat. It breaks the equation, and it destroys that component. So those are the 5 extinguishers, and I've been able to map them to the best class of fire that they can work with. Next, please. Sorry, next. Next, please. Next, I've spoken about all this. Next. Okay. The hose drill, you have seen the hose drill, and so this hose drill, and you've got the hydrant, standing here. So please, if you use hose drill in your facility, maybe because of fire truck or you have water pump or whatever, please also ensure that the hose drill are actually returned. Please, the hose drill must be returned to its place. The hose drill must be in good condition. They are mostly within the premises, and within the building. While your fire hydrant with the valve, with the gate valve, you also need to test at every time. So hose drill is an high pressure hose carries water or foam to the fire, not to extinguish it. Is attached to the plumbing system. Can be connected to a standalone pipe. That will be attached to an hydrant. Next, please. So take care of the hose view. Make sure it's not leaking because they're just rubber hoses. So your hydrant system, you need to on the pump for hydrant to work. But there's actually a jockey pump that's on standby. That's what I say is an active system because there's the jockey on standby to activate the release of water. But you need to be alert. You need to know how to operate, and work with your fire pump. Okay, there's a landing valve also, which you need to install outside the building. Next slide, please. So in case of fire, what do you do? Raise the alarm by shouting fire, 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 or press the call points. No. So an alarm should be raised by any person. So you need to show them how to raise the alarm by breaking the glass. No. Then, as much as you have evenly distributed your extinguishers, then they can use the right one to extinguish. So if you can do so, it is best to switch off your power source. Maybe switch off the generator or change or something, so that you don't have power supplied at that point. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide.
Next slide, sir.
Yes, please. Okay, this is it. Okay. So when you hear the alarm, leave the building immediately. Don't use the elevator. Use the staircase instead through the exit door, right? Close all the windows and doors when leaving. This may not be possible when you are not working in the shop. So if there is actually a real fire, you may not have that time to close the doors and windows. But importantly, do not stop to collect your personal belongings. Meaning that importantly, ensure that all your belongings are not scattered in the office. So if you are leaving, you can just leave once. Yes, so it is important that you know that you can't always close the doors or windows, and you can't always carry your personal belongings. If people need assistance on your way, okay. So then I said something around the fire assembly point, which is the muster point. Please go there, and do not enter the building unless the incident commander or the management or the FM tells you to do so. Next slide. Okay, use of fire extinguisher. So no, what we use in first gear is like I said, don't use the water extinguisher on electrical equipment. It's related to electrocution. That's what we call the pass method. You pull the pin, you aim at the base of the fire, you squeeze the lever, and you sweep from side to side. That's very important. That's very important. Okay. So we don't need to overflog the uses of extinguisher. Extinguishers are very useful. Next slide, please. Are we not done yet? Okay. Those are the functions of the extinguisher.
Well, We're almost done, sir. About 4 slides to go.
Okay, so I'm gonna have questions
Questions.
taken this time, yeah. So exhibitions are actually used to limit the spread of fire, confirmed. So by the time so I said sweep from side to side. So pull the pin aim at the base of the fire, squeeze the lever, the contents will discharge. Then from side to side sweep so that the fire is contained. So you can check that even on YouTube. Pass method, PAWS, of a fire extinguisher. Okay. Your detection system should be audible and should be easily operated in the event of a fire. Okay, next slide. Okay. And here we're talking about the evacuation procedure. We should ensure that it forms part of the emergency plan. Our risk assessments, like we said the other time, should be considered. Evacuation should be initiated by sounding the alarm. So please, you need to carry out the testing. Then everybody should know where the muster point is and be able to go there, either through the main door or the emergency exit. And there should be adequate illumination and signage placed along the emergency exit routes. People must know where your muster point is. That's clearly indicated by signage, and we need to be able to direct people to get there. And a procedure must be in place for the disabled. I don't know if somebody heard me say things around PEEPs, PEEPS, or PEEP, what we want to call it. So we call it Personal Emergency Evacuation Plan, PEEP. So if you have disabled guys, so if somebody has visual impairments, then you should know that an alarm should work better for that guy than a sign. But maybe if that sign is in form of strobe, like this amber, this they call it amber lights that's on the police van. So if you have that kind of thing that can actually help a visually impaired person to understand that something is wrong somewhere. For someone that is deaf, we can use what we call a vibrator equipment. So if it vibrates, so when there is fire, it is connected to the, so maybe by wireless, it's connected to the system on that floor. So that equipment will vibrate. So when it vibrates, the guy knows that something unusual is happening here. So whether you are using the strobe, you're using the vibrator, or you're using a buddy system. A buddy system is when you assign human being, physical assistants, like a body, to ensure that people that have these disabilities are helped. Maybe, because when there is fire, you won't be able to use the elevator, your lift. Let's go through the staircase. So most time, if it's multi-story building, so people with disability should actually also have their office located on the ground floor. We are not discriminating. It's for their health and for their own good. So they should have their offices on the ground floor, or worst case scenario, first floor. So it's easy for them to get out of the building when there's an emergency. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so this talking to government agencies. So you work with, sorry, if you work in states where you've got almost all the states have got fire service. So there is the fire service inspection documents that is issued on an annual basis. So on a good day, annually, the fire service should actually come to inspect your premises and give you some advice about what you need to do to assure fire safety, then give you a certificate of inspection for that year. And randomly, they should be able to come, because now that certificate belongs to them, not to you, but you are paying for it. You are paying 25,000 or thereabout in Lagos for that certificate. So you then need to have that certificate, and they have the right to come onto your premises anytime to say, they've come to see or to have a look about how safely you are operating to prevent fire outbreak. Okay, next slide. So I think this is the last or second to the last. So fire wardens or fire marshal. So we say you should appoint these guys. I've said some 1 hour ago that you should create 4 groups within your organization for these guys. There should be the search and rescue team, communication team, the head count team, and the firefighting team in your facility among your workers, including security guys, and make them fire safety champion, fire wardens, fire marshal, whatever you want them to, whatever you want them to be. Let them have some pride in what they do. Buy reflective jackets, print fire marshal, fire safety or something at the back of that, on the back of that jacket. Hold an inauguration meeting. Let them feel very important. Not because most times we are our guys now, we are managers. We don't have time. It's not that are less busy. And it's not the one that are less busy. That should be among the fire warden. Let's have it as a balance system. When I was working as health and safety manager, popular for 2 years as health and safety manager. Even my engineer, my engineer is the one that heads the firefighting team. Because we need to start the pump. So there's some that are technical, that I need someone that is highly technical to be there. So when I'm having the chief engineer of a plant of a production plant, of a production facility, the guy that is in charge of engineering and maintenance, now being the leader, we call him team lead for the firefighting this thing. You are sure that it is easy to then get buy-in from other junior engineers or technicians or what have you, because their boss is actually part of the system. My chief accountant at the facility, then we put him as head of head count. So when yes, I can't put the accountant in a role where we need some technical hands on, but to help us account for people, count if people are complete and everything. And as he's doing that, be sure that you are going to have buy-in from other people. So please, we also need the guys, the senior men, depending on their schedule, to be able to join this fire warden thing. Inaugurate them. You can call them any name. Doesn't need to be warden. Doesn't need to be marshal. It can be it can be a champion. It can be executive. Imagine so they are fire safety executive. It could be a security guy, but so give them nice title, inaugurate them, and you'll be fine. Next Is that all? So these are their roles, these are their responsibilities. Next slide, please. I think we're almost
That's
done.
the answer. That's the answer.
Okay, this is the end. Fantastic. So this is the end of this class. So questions, please. Mr. Lawa.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Yes, I'm here. Afternoon. Good
Thanks
evening.
for this today's lecture, and good evening, everyone. Yes, my first question, I want to know, how do we inspect fire hydrant? That is one.
Okay.
Then secondly, how do we conduct hydrostatic test?
Okay.
Then the suppression system. How do we inspect it as well?
Okay, so let me start with your hydrants. So your hydrant is connected to your water tank and of course to the pump. So it could be a ring system and it could be a linear system. So ring system, I mean that the pipe actually goes in and out of the tank. So even if you forget to open the valve and you start the pump, the pipe will not burst. So the gasket will not burst because water. So there must be an outlet. Once you open the pump, that means there is a pressure induced on the line. So if you don't open the valve and it is a linear system and not a radial system, be sure that you have leakage. Immediately, something will burst, which is always the weakest link, which is the gasket. Across, so nowhere two pipes join, you have that flange, that big circular head then. So and you have the gasket there. So your gasket will that will cost for you. So that means people need to be trained to know that they need to open the valve before they start the pump. Very key. So what you want to do with your hydrant system is to be sure that start the pump, water comes out of the hydrant system. Is to be sure that the gate valve can be opened easily and locked without leakage. Is to be sure that you can plug your hose, your fire hose, which is the male side into the female head of that valve. So what you want to do with the hydrant is just to be sure that water is coming in and out at the right pressure. That's one. Two, for hydrostatic test, it's not actually your job because you don't have. So it's just like doing hydro. It's just like doing hydro pressure. You understand? So you need to give it to, and that will be done every 5 years on a good day. Every 5 years, give the cylinder your fire extinguishing cylinder or fire extinguishers to the guys that service them and tell him that he should do hydro test for you. Your third question, can you remember? Okay, I think it's around the suppression system.
Suppression system.
Yeah. So it usually comes with a checklist. So the guy that installed the suppression system for you will give you a checklist of what needs to be checked. Then every 6 months, we should come back to service. So depending on your risk appetite, it could be annually, but he will give you a checklist on what you need to check, which is usually not different from checking the gauge, checking for leakage, ensuring it's not discharged. So just a simple checklist, and that will suffice.
Okay.
I don't know if I've answered your question.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Then I still have this close down procedure. I think you didn't explain that. Then
okay.
I want to have example of class A fire.
No, class A is just your ordinary combustible material like wood, foam, cloth. That's your clothing.
Okay.
Plastic, anything that is solid. So let me use the word solid. Anything that is solid material that can burn is class A.
Okay. So that close down procedure, sir. The close down procedure.
Close down procedure for what, please?
Yeah, in one of the slides.
Yes.
Can I just quickly check?
Okay, while you are checking, let me move to. So I will come back to you, Mr. Lawal.
Okay, sir.
Don't bring down your hand, so you can just check properly. So, Mr. Anthony, you raise up your hand, please.
Okay. Good evening, sir. Good evening, Mr. Labi. Am I right?
My name is Kola, yes.
Yes. Thank you very much for this wonderful lecture. I just have two things that we appreciate we can clarify. The first, when you're talking on fire extinguisher, that is the color codes. You mentioned the one for carbon dioxide, the one
Black,
for dry
yes.
powder. Yes, on
Blue,
the carbon
yes.
dioxide, you said they can work on 1, 2, 3. What is 1, 2, 3? I am not so clear.
No, I said carbon dioxide can work on fire caused by electricity.
Okay.
Then carbon dioxide can work effectively on class C, which is gaseous. Gaseous. Yes. So if so, we usually have CO2. That's carbon dioxide because one, if it's used inside the premises, inside the room, you don't need to do any cleanup, or it's clean gas. But if you use DCP after extinguishing the fire, then you have to spend another 1 hour mopping the floor, cleaning the space and everything. But if CO2 is clean, it disperses with the air. What it does is that because it's CO2, it displaces the oxygen and reduces the amount of oxygen present in that fire zone at that time. So the fire will go out because the fire wants oxygen and not CO2. So that's just the logic. So but if you use CO2 outside the premises, it won't be effective because of the breeze. So we have abundance of fresh air outside. So if you use CO2, you won't get value for your money. It will waste your time. The fire will not go out. That's why we just use the DCP. That DCP, dry chemical powder, can do 3 things for you. One, it will disintegrate the chemical composition. Because it's also sodium bicarbonate. Bicarbonate, rather. Sodium Na2CO3. So it's sodium bicarbonate. So it's also a chemical, so to say. So when it goes into the fire, it distorts the chemical reaction. Then 2, that powder forms a layer. It's just like the makeup powder that our madam, that our woman uses. It forms like a layer between their skin. You get. So if you use heavy makeup, heavy powder, breeze or fresh air will not touch your skin. It's actually be on that powder. So same thing for the DCP. It is the powder is preventing so it's forming like a protective layer on the fire. So we call it smothering. It's not allowing oxygen to go in. And also, if the powder, because of where it's coming from, is not cold, but it's not hot. So it also absorbs the temperature of the fire. So thereby bringing down the temperature of the fire, which is also a form of fire extinguishing. So using DCP, you will achieve 3 things in one as a minimum. You get, apart from the fact that it's actually good to use out there. But if it's used on equipment, then you have it. If it doesn't have that equipment, then you have some job to do around cleaning of the panel, cleaning of the equipment at the end of the day. So CO2 is good in the indoor, and it will also work. CO2 will work effectively on class C, gaseous. So fire started by gaseous substance, or fire involving gaseous substance like propane, butane, acetylene, and also it will CO2 work effectively on electrical induced fire. Yeah.
I'm sorry, the second one, you said with people with disability, they
Yes.
can be helped with 3 things as a kind of a detector.
Depending on the form of their disability, depending on what, on their disability. So if the
Yes.
person is blind,
Okay.
then he can hear. So sound can work for him, right?
Yes.
If the person is deaf and is not blind, then light. So that's why I said strobe. It looks like that that ambulance that flashlight on the ambulance or police, yeah, that is strobe. That will work. So it can see, but it can't hear. So when it see that there is a light coming on and going off, then it knows that something is actually on. Yes. Then for some people, it could be, so there is this, I think some restaurants use it in Lagos, where I know, is it Black Bell on Adeolo Deku? When you place order for your food, they give you like an object. And so when your food is ready, that object vibrates. They don't need to come and call you to say, oh, your order is ready. So when it's like a vibrator. So when it vibrates, then you know that your own food is ready. Then you go and pick it up. So that same thing. So if you give to a disabled person and it's always in his pocket or somewhere, and it vibrates, then he knows that something abnormal is about to happen or is happening. Then he can find his way down. And I said you can have what we call a body system, where you appoint somebody to say, okay, on this floor, we have one disabled person and 3 of you are responsible for this guy. So if there is a danger, please make sure that this guy gets to the muster point. So there are many ways to get it done. So but like I said, importantly, don't go and locate the person's office on the 10th floor. It's not fair, because the elevator will not work when there is an emergency. Okay, Mr. Ibukun. Thank you, Mr. Anthony. Mr. Ibukun.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for the class. Just 2 quick questions, sir. Number one, I want to clarify what you said earlier on. You talked about the 4, what this class is about, talking about fire prevention, protection, detection, and firefighting. So you now said the firefighting is categorized, sir?
So that's fire safety management.
Yes, man. So you said the category of the firefighting is what I didn't get. You said search and rescue, then
communication.
Communication. Okay.
Head count.
Head count. Okay.
Yes, and firefighting itself.
Okay, and firefighting.
So what we're just saying is that if you have firefighting arrangement, you must have these 4 groups. So if there is fire today, as we are speaking,
okay,
some people should know that their work is to call 767. Some people should know that their work is to go to the muster point or direct go to the muster point and take head counts. Yes. Some people should know that their job is to move around the facility and see if anybody is trapped. Okay. And some people should know that their job is to carry the fire extinguisher or drive the fire truck or operate the fire hydrants, anything they need to do and fight the fire. Oh. So there's no confusion. Everybody should know their role. And so I said you should constitute them as fire safety executive or champion or marshal or warden, or whatever you want to call them, and have them in these 4 groups as a minimum.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. I was distracted for work issue at that time when you were saying it. Okay, sir. So the final one, it has to do with fire drills. Okay. There's usually this challenge of having to get everybody involved in fire drills. So what's your opinion or best approach?
You have to get it done.
Where I work is it has been just a few of us just trying to, few people trying to just but getting everybody, is always
so where you work,
people don't see it as a serious thing.
Are you subscribed to ISO 45000?
You mean as a company?
No. As a company, yes. Okay, because clause 8 on ISO 45000 is very clear. Around clause 8 is talking around your operational control. Then clause 9 is then telling you about emergency management. So clause 8 and 9 are clear on this. So you have to find a way that once in a year you test your plan. People have to evacuate once in a year.
All right.
Please just find a way. So it's tone from the top. Let it be like your bosses want it done. then that will be easy. But if you are the one trying to push, no, it's not going to work. Just let there be a business case around, oh, if there is fire, people don't even know. So you may do trading for them in bits. You understand? You don't need to carry, you don't need to fix same time, same date, same day for people to be trained on fire safety. No, it won't work.
All right. Okay.
But the drill must be done same time, maybe 30 minutes. And you can also do that in shifts. So when I was in MBC again, when I was in Coke, so that we have the morning shift, the afternoon shift, and of course the night shift. So we have to do 3 drills. So you have to do a drill for those guys on the morning shift, afternoon shift, and evening. So it's difficult, but it was achieved. So again, emotional intelligence, managing upward, there are a lot of things that need to come, because what I tell them is that operation needs to stop. People need to stop what they're doing and come down. And if there is, please, if it's that you are managing a facility, that is even easy. You can tell your tenants, this is what you want. And it has to be done. But you now work with them to pick the best time. Ideally, fire drills should be anonymous. They should not even know. The way we are talking now, I can just go on the alarm or switch on the alarm, and you have to come down. You understand? That's an effective fire drill. Then you know the response time, how long it took the last person to come down. But the way it is now, we just manage. Okay, thank you, Mr. Ibuku. Mr. Delay Adetayo.
Hi.
Are you?
Yes,
I'm here.
Yes.
You are a co-host now, so why will you be asking me a question, Baba? Oh,
no,
to join this panel.
I'm still part of the panel.
Okay, you have the floor.
Okay, so my question is having to do with the last class, your last class, actually. I wanted to ask, so for someone that wants to do person, what would you recommend?
Okay, so it depends. Do you want to do something bespoke to your facility, or you want to align to a global standard?
I think I prefer to align to a global standard, because it's what is going to help you to, you understand, boost your career.
Okay.
So I think I prefer aligning to a global standard.
Okay, IOSH, maybe you can start with IOSH managing safely. Because if you actually go to, if you actually do NEBOSH is too broad and too wide that you may not even see the application.
Okay.
Because you're not working as an health and safety guy. But if you do IOSH managing safely, I said managing safely, not working safely, managing safely, you should be able to get value. It's shorter. I think in 3 days you're out. It's cheaper. And it's right applicable. If you go for NEBOSH, I'm telling you, you have to do a lot of things that at the end of the day may not even be applicable to you. You have what to do right now.
Okay. Okay, one more. Okay, because in a situation where I now work in a place like in a quarry, so do you think IOSH is the best option?
Okay, so there is no, I won't say there is no mining, and I won't say there is no safety standard in quarry, but that's the truth. There's no safety standard. Right now we are consulting for Ministry of Mines and Steel now, and we're looking at artisanal mining in Nigeria, and it's been crazy. So the truth matter is we are not doing the right things in Nigeria. So what we can do, or if your company is, if your management is keen with about health and safety, so we can look at maybe setting up an ISO 45001 system for you, even if it's just for internal assessments, So from the ISO 45001, you by yourself identify your risks and put in controls to mitigate them. So from the child labor, welfareism, health and safety, mercury, environmental degradation, everything we need to know around what to do at the quarries be listed I were you.
Yeah.
I may do, or that means I may go for IOSH, managing safely, then
Yeah.
do ISO 45001 2018 lead auditor course.
Okay, so the last thing is, with all this information, is there, can you like share a link on the WhatsApp group or something that I can use and then other people can?
You want me
also
to market? You want me to be marketing?
No, I'm not saying no, because you know the
they didn't
thing
pay
is,
for marketing, eh?
yes, we did not pay for marketing. But the thing is, like this, you need other people. You might not know where to find it. For example, now, I was looking for facility management training. I think I bumped into Max-Migold on YouTube. Where they are free and giving back series that they did last year during the lockdown. I bumped into, finished it to attend this, or this is what I've been looking for. So that's the distance, because I don't want a situation where I go and put money in something and I'm not getting best value. Or if you can drop your number and I communicate with you later, I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. We're still having hands up, eh? Okay, Mr. Sakibo.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, what's the standard pressure for fire hydrants? Because, and even fire hydrant precisely, because at times when you try to operate it, the pressure may low, or when you want to do normal testing to know what the expected level is supposed to be.
I can't answer that question because it is dependent on your pump. So it's the pump that indicates the pressure. So again, is by design. So if you have a small pump, then I would have expected the orifice or the pipe diameter to be smaller, so I can give you the right pressure. So if you have a big, maybe you have the standard 3-inch or 4-inch pipe, for your hydrants, and maybe in recent times you change your pump. If that pump is not big enough, then you'll be having low pressure.
So that's
so it depends on.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe
design.
We need to calibrate all the systems to achieve a constant pressure.
So just invite the guy that actually installed the hydrants. So there'll be a need to check the pump. So the problem is now is not the pipe. So when you say hydrant, so we're just using all this big English. Hydrant is just just a pipeline that you now have your landing valve where you can actually plug in your hose and what have you. So it's the pump that actually throws in water into that line that determines the pressure. So the problem is not the hydrant now, it's the pump. So maybe you can get the guy that installed the pump. So is the pump, is it undersized? You understand? Because I know in those early days when we are still doing all this pipeline listing, so you actually have a software where you put in the ratings, the pipeline ratings, the size of the pipe or the pipe itself, the size of the pump, and it will tell you what the pressure is.
The standard pressure to work towards.
Okay, so I will have to then check the standard and revert. So I have to check NFPA 13, or you can then check yourself. NFPA 13 that I spoke about. You need to check NFPA 13. That's where the standard this thing is. Thank you. Mr. Mrs. Theodora.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I want to ask a question. This IO managing safely. Is there like a yearly renewal of that certificate?
No. Why did you ask? IO managing safely.
Because I did it, and other certificates like that, I would have thought that maybe once either a year, 2 years or something, because things change.
Okay, so Ayosh, I know there was version 5. Sometimes in 2019, I was taking Ayosh class in Lagos here. So I know I did version 5 I trained people on version 5. Yeah, so I know what you're talking about, content change. You understand? So that's where the CPD matters. So you're supposed to be, taking, or attending workshops or doing those things. So if it were CIEH, for instance, now I know they advise us to go for a refresher course every 3 years. Okay. But for Ayosh, unless I can check, maybe next class week I can check maybe my system and see one of the certificates issued to someone and see if there was a year dated on that. But I also know that if you don't write your next exam 5 years, then you can't. So like for me, I actually have 4 NEBOSH certificates. So when I did my IGC in 2012, I was able to skip in 2014, if I remember properly, I was able to skip a module in NEBOSH fire because I was holding a NEBOSH IGC that is still within 3 years or within 5 years, I can't remember. So I know because I was holding, so I didn't write the first exam, which would have been a repetition of my IGC. Then I did the IFC. Then when I did my NEBOSH oil and gas or something on, I had to go and repeat a class because it has spanned over 5 years. I don't know if you understand. So it's possible, but I will check. I doubt it because again, Ayosh, okay, between you and I, Ayosh managing safety is actually meant for secondary school. It's a secondary school level class of qualification. Is this secondary school? SSC?
Yes, I know that
because
I used introductory part as I was coming into safety.
Okay. So I'll check if it expires. I can tell Baraka to give you that response. I'll check someone's certificate and check if there was an advice for you to go back to class every 3 years. But it's not that certificate has expired, but also you need to have your continued professional development, your CPD, to validate your knowledge and refresh you.
Okay, maybe I'll call you to ask some other questions about this certification.
Okay, no problem. So I've actually stood out. So I used to be a certification freak before, But now I said no problem. We can always talk about certifications. But no, I still try to do maybe 2 exams every year.
Those certifications, they are necessary because if not, you get, unless you're on the job, you will lose.
Yeah, so we've got to a point now that you don't now you even plan exams, you don't have time to read for the exam. But there were times that there were times to study for exams, and so you don't get stalled, and you are current, you're on top of your job. It's not that so you need to test if you are doing well.
Yes.
So we can talk around certification. I don't know. So NEBOSH, I don't do trainings again because where I work is a conflict of interest. So I don't do trainings. What I'm even doing here is more or less just encouraging us. It's not, so I can't sign your certificate. I'm going to become the but sign elsewhere.
Generator house. I know there is a type of fire extinguisher you use in a generator house is quite different from the one you use in the kitchen area. Same thing. I might be wrong, but stand to be corrected. I know there's another one you use in the office because of where you have papers and other appliances. So I need you to give me those differentiate those types for me.
So basically, no problem. So basically, I showed the participant 5 types of extinguishers. So chemical powder, the DCP, the water extinguisher, the foam, or we call the chemical foam extinguisher that should be on petrol. Then we have what we call the wet chemical foam. So the 5 types we discussed in the class, but basically we CO2 and DCP. CO2 is either in a black cylinder or is in a red cylinder with black with black color code around his neck.
Okay.
He's going to have a horn instead of a hose. And it's not going to have a gate. It will make some noise. It will discharge some like a white gas, which will disappear almost. This discharge or is overcharge is by the side. It has a hose as against the horn. Then it's always red in color with the color code being blue around the neck of the extinguisher. So we're then saying that, so in the generator house, we actually have these 2. Most times we have, not even most time, all the time, we should have the DCP and the CO2. CO2 because of the panels, so that you don't pour powder on the panels. So use the CO2, and you have the DCP because the DCP is effective out there. You get in the offices, yes, you have both the CO2 and DCP outdoor. In the kitchen, I would just advise you have the CO2 and the fire blanket. So if there is fire in the pot, maybe due to overheated oil, just use the blanket to cover it. Then switch off the gas. Don't pour water. Never pour water on hot oil. If you do, please, it's going to result in an emergency. Almost 99% of the time.
Critical situation that needed to be considered. So in the process of carrying out the fire drill, you bring people together, then they have to congregate at the muster points.
Muster points.
So the concern about balancing the two, because when we're looking at these emergency cases, we also look at other considerations to health, safety, and other things. So I want to ask if it is a good reason, because presently we put fire drill on suspension. So that people will not have to
on suspension. You can do what we call a phased evacuation. I don't know, the fire itself has not gone on suspension because, or has not gone on hold because of COVID-19. So still having fire breaks here and there. So you can do what we call a phased evacuation, meaning that so if you have, say, a 4-story building, so because of the population, you can have a fire drill and say, don't come out, don't just. So we are evacuating floor 1 and 2.
Okay.
You understand? And you achieve the same results.
Okay.
But make sure that that fire prevention is intensified. That training. So even if you have not done the fire drill, make sure that at least that training, that awareness never stops. You understand? So at least that awareness will make you not have, most likely, not have a fire outbreak, because people know what can cause fire and they're doing the right thing to prevent that from happening. But that does not exonerate you from, carrying out a proper drill once in a year, please. Okay, this is it 10 past 7. I'm very sorry. I've been in meetings since 9 a.m. today. I was able to find a way to eat in the course of this training. I don't know if anyone noticed. I was feeling dizzy at the point. I have to just keep taking food and everything. I've been speaking since morning. I've been in different meetings. But not a problem. I will catch up with my sleep.
you need it actually.
And everything.
Sorry, you mentioned something about voice evacuation message. Do you
about
have
what?
any
About
voice evacuation? This can you recommend?
Yes, now it will be like it will be, okay, maybe the next time I go to, so there's one place I went to very recently. Exclusive. We're able to add that. You understand? So I may just ask. Maybe I think I should one of these days. I should go back to that facility very soon. So I can then ask them ask for the name of what they're using. But I know it was Etco that installed that for them. Blah blah blah. But I didn't poke close with what they're doing. Mine is just ask my relevant questions and walk away. Because I do CPD. I try to learn. You get, even though I consult now, or maybe 12 months now, I consult in. So I follow with PwC. So, but I try to still find a way to learn, to keep learning, because some of the things we do, are different from what we're talking about here. You get. So I will ask those guys when next I see them to know what they've done, just to, so maybe the next class, if I've been able to get that, I can then tell you. Well, it's just a microphone system connected to the fire alarm system. I think it was Edco that did that. And they were able to communicate from the point.
Okay, the fire system.
Yeah.
Is the function of such device not affected by temperature or whatever? I know.
Yeah,
I know for the wire.
How big yours. So when I was in another facility somewhere, so exactly it was a small facility, and those guys they were Canadian. So I've actually seen wireless system work where we didn't. It's just I think it's every 10 meters or something. That's the installation. I think that 10 or 11 meters, even 10 or 15 meters. And we installed the smoke detectors up there. And if there is fire somewhere, so it's like a ring, as if it's using Bluetooth. So it's a ring system. So when one goes, so that the result is that if one goes off, you won't know the one you know the very first one that went off. So I was the health and safety supervisor then. So I have to be asking people, it was an anger. So we've got the helicopters parked in that facility, then this wireless system. So my main concern is the hangar, is where the helicopter is parked, and not even the office. So if there is an alarm, I will first go to that hangar, because that's where the money is to go. So there was a disadvantage of you not even knowing which alarm went off first. So you don't even know where the fire is starting from. But with a conventional system, I'll just go to the panel and it should indicate which zone is on fire. And when my guys actually installing that, it would have indicated that, okay, zone 1 is office ABCD, zone 2 is EFG. You understand? So if we see zone 2 on fire, we know where we are going. So while I was with Coke, that's what I did for them in Kano. So I was in a facility that's never had, a fire system, and I said no, not under my watch, and I ensured that happened in my time as the health and safety manager in NBC Kano. And so as we speak now, they can, from the gatehouse, from the security gatehouse, they can know where the fire is within the entire premises, which is something that is something that is ordinary, is regular in Lagos, for some of those manufacturing. So we go to Guinness, Coca-Cola, Ikeja, all these things, Unilever, they're all there.
Okay,
So depending on what you want, even some smaller one, not addressable, conventional, where you can from the panel know where it is coming from.
Okay.
But addressable, if you go to Everty One, if you go to, I think, Heritage Place in Ikoyi.
I know Heritage Place.
Yeah, Heritage Place. Yeah. So I think everything. I think they have that. Well, it's been a long time I went to Heritage. I went to Heritage. I was in Heritage before COVID. Oh, it's been a long time. COVID is over 1 year now. Okay, so it's been a long time. Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
I think that's about that. Then the hydrants. Sorry I know the time has gone.
People will run away from this meeting. Though. Okay.
Let me hand it here. Sorry, maybe I will contact you personally.
Okay.
I think I'm okay.
Any more questions, please?
Thank you.
Victor, Sheun, Onyekachi, Meritala, Lucy, James, Isaac, Idris, Aziz, Anselm, Adebowale. No, we didn't ask any question. That means we're all fine. Okay, over to you, my chief host. Lamide. I'm done.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Right. Yes. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
And you too.
Thank you,
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Claire.
How for you? Wait, I'm not sure say in a work I already finished class. Hey. I didn't even know my mic was on. Let's get into work. Let's quickly before I run off.